will stand by this. He is not speaking to the merits of that man's filmmaking.
I know. I'm certain he's not. I refuse to believe. If you said that he was, I wouldn't believe you.
If you look at what he says, he's talking about the concept, the conceit. Yes. He's talking about Alan Moore's story was ahead of his time, and he's absolutely right. Because it would have worked post-Avengers, because then the world would have been ready for that type of story. Right. But also, it would have worked better if it was him and not Zack Snyder. Right. If it was Nolan and not Zack Snyder. I bet if Nolan adapted Watchmen, Alan Moore's original work, Alan Moore might change his mind.
And with that Snyder slant, we are Blerdlines, and I'm always here for the Snyder slander, but we're here.
Is it slander if it's true?
Yes.
And I'm always delighted to dish it out.
I'm saying.
What's going on, everybody? It's Blerdlines. Your man Cam. With me, as always, is
the main man Cam, aka Officer Vulgar, is back in the building.
As well as
Josh, very clearly the one of three Snyder haters in the room,
and as always,
Professor D. And you know what? I might be the main villain of the Snyder hate movie, because when it comes down to it, there's no one that dislikes that filmmaker more than I do.
I don't know. I might give you a run for your money, guy. You'd probably be able to describe why better. You'd be able to describe why he's terrible in better prose than I would.
Before we deep dive, sticking on Snyder real quick, is there anything he's done where we're like, yo, that was actually kind of cool?
Yeah, I'll tell you. Well, that, but more so the movie that impressed me the most with him, and still the best that he's ever done, is Dawn of the Dead, the remake he did in 2003, I think, 3 or 4.
Was that pre? That was 300.
That was his that was his first.
That was what got him noticed.
Yeah, that was his first commercial film, and it was a remake of the George Romero film, and he surprisingly did not shit the bed in that one. It was actually a pretty decent film. The only thing is he had to be Snyder, and we didn't know this was him being Snyder at the time, having dead people run and sprint like fucking triathlon, like athletes, not triathlon, but like track stars. Yeah.
So
okay.
So we're back talking. We're talking movies, and as you can tell with the Snyder slander, I just like using the word. The term is awesome. We're gonna watch a bunch of trailers, and first up is Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon: Child of Fire.
Yeah, if you gotta eat shit, it's best to just eat it and get it done.
Get it out the way. We gotta get it out the way, folks. We gotta get it out the way. You know. So this is Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon. Apparently, this is Star Wars or something or other, or I've heard.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a second. I can.
So this is Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon: A Child of Fire.
Right.
As the battle rages on, we look back to a time when the world knew not the horrors of war, but rather the embrace of enlightenment.
When I found you in the wreckage of that ship, I considered leaving you. I was afraid you could bring trouble to us.
We're gonna have to fight. We're searching for soldiers for a fight against the Mother World.
I could help you. You're a small fee, obviously. We're just farmers. We're not a threat. They won't just kill us, will they?
Are you ready?
What do you think they want?
There is a difference between justice and revenge.
The time has come
for all that you are.
Hold on.
You and I both know fear. Let's show them that we're not afraid. Let's show them we are more than the shackles that bind us.
Part 1, A Child of Fire. And you know what? This was probably all one movie that was 6 hours long. And Netflix looked at it and was like, no, we gotta break this up because this is ridiculous. I mean, it looks like what it is. It looks like B movie, not even B movie. It looks just like really campy science fiction, but science fiction that takes itself way too serious. And that's
here's the thing. Like all of his trailers, it doesn't look bad. He knows how to assemble. He knows how to give you visuals. Sucker Punch didn't look bad as a trailer. But like, I mean, it just bad to me when I saw it. You could not have predicted that movie was going to be as bad as it was.
You couldn't have predicted it was going to be as bad, but you could at least see that movie wasn't going to be anything special.
Oh yeah, his schoolgirl outfit, samurai is just like it sounds like Zack Snyder. Like it sounds like Zack. It sounds like a description of a Zack Snyder wet dream,
basically.
Yeah, like someone's.
But the story behind this one apparently is he pitched the premise for this film as a Star Wars film, and Lucasfilm was like, no, thank you. So he basically took the idea and made his own movie, which is why there are probably flaming swords instead of lightsabers, which is just.
I'm just trying to figure out why I care about I'm just trying to figure out why I care about the movie. And I will give him credit. He does have. There's two things that stood out. What's the guy's name? I don't know how to pronounce the African's name.
Jaimin Hunsu?
Yeah, I think he's typecast as an alien
Jaimin
now.
Hunsu,
like,
yeah.
He's like the same character in every Space Odyssey adventure. 2, he does have a full cast of interesting actors that I kind of like in other stuff. But again, this is probably it didn't even have to have Zack Snyder attached to it for me to say like I'll probably watch this a year or two after it's been released. It's one of those movies that if I catch it, I'm bored, I'll watch it because this looks like other story that I've seen before. And it's nothing that stands out for me personally where I got to be like, yo, this looks crazy, so we've seen this story before, so
a million times. I mean, and the fact that he tried to pitch it as a Star Wars story, you can clearly see that it's, again, now it's just derivative, right? So you try to do the story in that world and you got rejected, and now you're going to take the concept of whatever that narrative structure you had and put it into something that's supposed to be original, but again, we'll see. Like you said, I'm not going to say it's bad because I haven't seen it. His history tells us it will be bad, but it probably will fall under that like Saturday, nothing else to do, bored. I'm absolutely bored. And because for me, knowing that it's a Snyder film and a Netflix film,
if this is a derivative for Star Wars, one of the characters is named Kai, who's played by Charlie Hunnam, who's from Sons of Anarchy. He's a mercenary. Who does that remind you of? Han Solo.
Exactly.
Yeah, mercenary, smuggler.
In the trailer, he said, I can do it for a fee. We're familiar with this character, So, no, not to scare about that. It's just that, like, it's whatever, man. Like, cool.
Now moving on. Now we got to wipe our palate out. We need a nice refresher. We need to get it all out of the system. So next up, we got Furiosa, a Mad Max saga.
Leave it to black people to make up names.
Whatever you have to do.
Furioso.
However long it takes.
Promise me you'll find your way home. Furiosa, give me this promise.
The darkest of angels. The question is, do you have it in you to make it epic?
Now that's a trailer. God damn.
I mean,
that last shot was freaking epic.
Even the title treatment is epic. Like, it's George Miller understands how to make an epic odyssey. And so I wouldn't be surprised if this is like one of those things where it becomes like the new Mad Max series with Furiosa. Because I think that was
kind of the intention, kind of, right? Like, it was like,
yeah, he originally wanted the Fury Road to be Mad Max Furiosa. Like, it was, I think it was originally supposed to be her film or more about her. But I think, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I read that that was the initial intent. But he was talked into doing a new Mad Max film because the franchise had been gone for so long. So, it would be kind of odd to start with a brand new character or whatever when they were already going to have to recast Max because, now we're like 30 years later and Mel Gibson is in his
crazy stage
50s or whatever. Yeah. So, and not to mention that.
65 now, something like that.
Yeah.
Mel Gibson. I said Mel Brooks.
Yeah,
Mel Gibson.
If he was in his 50s, I can say he can still do it.
67.
They allow Indiana Jones.
Yo.
But that didn't work.
Nah, I wouldn't want to see old man. I wouldn't want to see old man Max. That wouldn't work.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm just saying, Mel Gibson, if you wanted to show an aged grizzly veteran, I wouldn't be mad at it. However,
sure, but I don't want to see that.
I think he was still like closing on 60 when they did Fury Road. When they started
production. He was in his 60s. Yeah, he was like late 50s, early 60s. He's 67. So
so he would have been in his early 60s
8 years ago
when that,
give or take a year or two. Yeah. So he'd have been like 57, 58.
3 years for production in the late 50s. Yeah. But I think it was more so his controversy that the reason.
I was going to say he's also persona non grata. So
that was more the decision than his age. Because you're right, it could have been a grizzled Max, and it would have made sense, and George Miller would have made it work.
I said this offline. I was like, This came out 8 years ago, so I was super lost, and I was like, and I enjoy the Mad Max series. I watched the older ones, but I just never kept up with the characters, so I definitely needed a recap. And thanks to the fellas to the pod, they gave me a little backstory. I was like, yeah, because I was like, who the hell is this character again? They was like, oh, she was in the other prequel. I was like, okay, cool.
I mean, what a lovely day, man. Like, this is just George Miller is just, like, I could not get over the visuals of the last one, excuse me. I couldn't get over the audio. Like, the audio quality was top tier. Didn't we go to see that? Me and Cam, I think we went to go see that, didn't we?
There was a bunch of us that went during that time. I don't know if I went with you or if I went
with somebody,
a few other people, but I did go with some people. I remember initially not liking it at first. Like when I first saw it, I thought,
really, why not?
Just because I thought that there was something. I thought that the narrative wasn't as strong at first, but then I went back and watched it again, and I was like, no, I'm tripping. This is amazing. And then one of the reasons that I felt that way is because the movie is without a lot of dialogue in general. Like, they don't say a lot. Their characters don't have a lot of moments where they're giving an exposition. Like, even when they do stop and slow down and they talk, they're very short, phrases and exchanges, which to me is what I missed the first time around. That plays into the narrative of this world, of this mythology, where they're always on the run. Every day is about survival and getting to the next day, that they don't have the luxury and not even the inclination to have conversations. Like, it's just like
they're just running. Like, literally,
exactly.
Literally 95% of the movie is
yeah, exactly. And then
they look over their shoulder. They look over their shoulder, and then somebody else is coming, and they got to go again. And then they look over this way, and they got to go back that way.
Exactly, and it's done in a way that narratively makes sense to the world that George Miller created. This post-apocalyptic world that has been destroyed by. And he doesn't give any one thing specific. He gives you a kind of it could have been nuclear war. It could have been global warming. It could have been basically humans were humans, and then the world ended. And this is what's left.
Right, yeah.
And I think each movie, especially now in this new generation, the cinematography is just immaculately beautiful. Like, for a world that's supposed to be ugly and desolate, he makes the photography is amazing. Like, the color
film is a masterpiece visually.
Yeah, like, it's just amazing. Like, even the characters in their grunge, a post-apocalyptic, it looks more like what you would think of in terms of an epic narrative about Achilles, or about, again, using that word is appropriate because this is called an Odyssey, where she's, trying to work her way home. And I think the interesting part of juxtaposing this new film with Fury Road is that we know that she's not going to make it through that Odyssey for a very long time. That Odyssey is going to take a long time. And then even when she does make it back, it's going to be a really disappointing thing, because the green place, and I like that they showed a little clip of that where we saw that visually green, lush place where there's all these women running through, and that was the whole thing. Was the green place was like one of the last sanctuaries, all women sanctuaries that hadn't been touched by the war boys and all the craziness and the Morton Joes of the world. But at some point, we know that that's gonna obviously not be the case anymore. So
I also like to remind everyone that George Miller's only Academy Award is from the animated film Happy Feet.
Yes, which is so ironic. So ironic. And he had been in Hollywood for
Wait a minute. He didn't win for
it got best editing, Road? But for him specifically, he got nominated for best picture and best director, but he did not win.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even get director. Yeah, I know he didn't get best director. I know I didn't get best film, but I thought for like production design or something like that. I thought I gotta
look at the other one. Also, he was.
But the directors usually only get the directing proper, the picture or the producing if they were
his
also
other
criminal because there's like, nothing.
His other nominations were for best picture and best adapted screenplay in 1995 for Babe.
Yeah, he's like one of those eclectic people in Hollywood that's done a lot of different stuff, and you wouldn't think that his biggest IP or the thing that he has done the most is the Mad Max films, because no one else is. I think he's directed all of them.
Yeah, he's directed all of them.
Written all of them.
And he wrote Babe, but he did not direct it. Interesting. Yeah. But he did direct Babe, Pig in the City.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
There you go.
It was a big deal when it came out. That was like 95, right?
Yeah, at the time. Yeah, it was like 95. I remember we watched that in class, and I didn't get it. I said I thought it was a good film, but I was like, it's a talking pig, man. I'm a kid, but I ain't that
all right,
kid.
so next up we got Godzilla and Kong: The New Empire. There's a slew of Godzilla like properties being unleashed in this last month. There was Monarch, Godzilla Minus. So this is another
this production company. This looks like a bad.
So specifically, this one is being released through Legendary and Visa Warner Brothers Discovery. This one is unrelated to Godzilla Minus One, and which is done by the Japanese original company that did the original Godzilla films. This one is attached to American Godzilla from 2017, Godzilla King of Monsters, the first Godzilla versus Kong. The other film in this series is Skull
Island. Yeah.
And then there's the show Monarch. Which
at present, well, I'm only 3 episodes in, but at present does not seem to dovetail in any real way outside of the name to the movies that we've seen or this one.
So Godzilla X Kong now is the direct sequel to Godzilla versus Kong. But this is all this monsterverse that the WB started before the merger, and they're continuing it on because it's moderately successful. I think like the movies have been good to okay, but they haven't had any real failures yet. So. Mm-hmm.
For most of human civilization, we believed that life could only exist on the surface of our planet. What else were we wrong about?
Welcome to my world. Won't you come on in?
This world has more secrets than we could possibly imagine.
Miracles I get. Still now and then.
What is that?
That's not Kong. What could have done this?
stop this on his own.
He won't be alone.
Welcome to my world.
Is that a mini Kong?
Whatever, man. So I like ridiculous.
I love how ridiculous it is.
I always love I've grown to love that charging up sound effect. As you know, oh man, that's just right? That's some killer sound design.
And that's the one I think they introduced that first in the Garrett Edwards film when he started.
They did.
When he started charging up his
back spikes.
Yo, man,
I mean,
it's Kong and Godzilla. It looks fine.
It looks fun. I just a quick critique of the trailer though. Whatever that the seismograph that's dope. I wish they'd have kept through with that throughout the trailer and not just broken it up beginning and the end.
Boom. That's why it didn't work, was because it was inconsistent. If they had kept it going throughout and cut to it, then it would have been a lot better. But
when I saw it, because when I heard it, I was like, oh, that's dope rhythmically. I hope they continue doing that. And then they did, but then they didn't, and then they did again. And then you got orchestral music at the end. It's like, you could make a musical piece following that rhythm.
The second time they did it, it made less sense, and it took you out of the rhythm that they had already been going with. So if they had kept it and kept layering it and kept building to that finish, even if they decided to incorporate the orchestra somehow, it would have made sense. But the fact that they completely went away from it and then came back, it killed that part of it.
A prime example of a trailer that used a rhythmic thing to perfect effect was that first Black Panther trailer. What was the name of that stupid song? It was Black Thought and Run the Jewels. I think it was Step Into the Spotlight. And so that
and it was,
that sample
and they keyed it well. They keyed it well the whole time.
All the way to you can listen. This is how obsessive I get about these things. I grabbed all the audio, dumped it into Pro Tools, and set it to a metronome. From the first hit, from that bam, 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 it's on the same meter the entire 2 minutes and 30 some odd seconds of the trailer. It never breaks rhythm, ever. That to me, from an audio standpoint, is a perfect trailer.
Yeah, another good example was the Us trailer with that's the one that I got 5 on it.
And they had to reflip it because it wasn't the original, which I understand. But it actually did work. It fit into that trailer.
Yeah, they tried to save a little dough on that.
two things. King Kong is the protagonist in this.
Yeah. They've kind of mix now.
It seems like Kong is
because I'm Team Godzilla all day. Two, why they got my boy Godzilla looking like Frieza out here with the pink?
They change the color every film now for some reason.
And it doesn't need to be like
it
does not need to be.
I'm a
pink.
Godzilla fan, but the trailer has my expectations.
Sure.
I have none for this. I'm just gonna watch it because it's gonna fill my Godzilla quota. It's kind of like watching vampire movies. So if it's a vampire series I kind of like, and they make one bad one, I'm gonna watch it and just forget about it. So
pretty much.
Yeah, that's the same thing with the kaiju movies, and that's what this is. It's just like
it's mindless fun.
Yeah, and if you've been watching the MonsterVerse like I have, then you recognize characters that are returning and all that stuff.
Brian Tyree getting that check.
I know, right?
No bad British accent, Tyree,
like
please. No bad British accent.
Oh, mate.
Wow.
Oh, mate.
Oh, man. Don't start on that one because
stop it.
I'm not even going to talk about it because British accent. End up sounding Scottish.
All right, so let's before we get off on tangents. Now we'll bring it back. House of Dragons season 2 just dropped a trailer. We do know that they've been filming this whole strike because Negroes out in the UK, they don't give a fuck. So they was
and their union is not governed by the same rules as ours. So if we're striking, it doesn't mean that their guys are striking.
Right.
So they really just were like, that sounds really terrible. When's my next take?
The writer strike did impact the show. It didn't stop them from production, but it did impact the show because the head writers are American. But mostly all of the performers, if I'm not mistaken, all of the actors are non-American.
That's kind of crazy.
Either European, British, or Australian. Because I think
at the minimum they're in BAFTA. The British. But the UK Actors Union in some capacity.
I think it is BAFTA. I think that's one of the, or whatever. You're right. It's the UK equivalent. So that's why they didn't stop. That's why they are ready to start rolling out things, and they're probably going to end up. I think right now they're set to return in the summer,
something like that. Well, I think what happened on here.
2024.
All right, let me roll the tape.
Errors were made in the hours following King Viserys' death.
You think?
The war will be fought. Many will die. And the victor will eventually ascend the throne. There is no war so hateful to the gods. It's a war between kin. And no war so bloody as a war between dragons.
Oh yeah, summer.
Oh, there it is. Height. Man, I wish they would do Vhagar. Jeez, that drag. I wish they would do a flashback and show Balerion, because as big as Vhagar is, Balerion was supposedly 10 times bigger than that.
D'Angelo, we don't have the budget. We can only do it for a certain time.
I know.
Calm down. Don't have the budget.
All I'm gonna say is, if the CGI catches up to the story, that's all I ask. The story is fire. Like, it did a little. We discussed it in a previous pod. It did a little too fast for me. However, that was a small knock. Not completely grasping the story and all the nuances of it. But the biggest thing for me, for such a great cast of characters and good story, is just get that CGI up a couple notches, man. Like, this is HBO, right? Like, come on, man.
HBO's like, yo, man, we had write-offs that we're trying to pull budget for it.
And what I'm asking for is like minor, because I can ignore the CGI. It's just everything else is awesome or up to par, and this CGI looking like what? Like,
well, they should be able to, and with teasers, because we're so early out, that doesn't, what we saw might not be what
the full res version,
exactly be the final rendering. So you're right. I think for them, they know that, because their scenes are going to be highly selective in terms of where that money is going to go. Like that's probably a scene right there where it's just like the Greens watching Aemon take off on Vhagar, and they designed it just to show the scale of how massively big that dragon is compared to all the other dragons that are living at that point, and also to show that's the type of power that they yield, having Vhagar not only as old and big as she is, but as battle tested as she is in comparison to the other dragons.
Did they say how many seasons it was going to be to complete the story? Was it going to be like
George R. R. Martin said he thinks they can get it done in between 3 or 4. So from what I'm seeing here, by the end of that season, they'll be further into the story and closer to the end. Because the Dance of the Dragons does take place over the course of multiple years and decades, but they probably can compartmentalize some of it. There's some details that they're not time specific, that they can be moved up or, moved around or whatever. But I think the trailer mainly did what you want to tease, is set up the main thing. These two Targaryen factions are about to come to blows. And I think the choices of bites set it up pretty well, where, God, I can't believe I'm blanking on her name. Eve Best's character, Targaryen. Oh, Valerian. God, I can't think of her name. The aunt. She summed it up really well when she said, he said, the war will be fought. No, they started with saying the arrows were made. The war will be fought. People will die. And at the end, one of them will ascend the throne.
When I heard that part, I was like, no shit. I was already pissed. I'm carrying over my pissed off from last season.
Yeah. Well, that's a tease, though. They're not going to give away
the whole feeling of like one simple miscommunicated message between a dream got this whole fucking war fought. When we as viewers know and understand who really supposed to be there, and you see how it transpired, that's how. I'm not saying anything bad about it. I'm just pissed because I'm always pissed at a character.
No, I get what you're saying.
But it's designed to elicit that emotion.
Like I saw the trailer, I'm like, oh man, I forgot I was pissed at this character, so I'll come back.
Yeah, you were mad. To be fair,
by design, job done.
The writers made that decision, that choice to do that, I think in part to continue to humanize Alicent, because in the source material, there's a point, well, to me, she's never, even from the beginning, she's not a very likable character. And I'm not talking about the show Alicent, I'm talking about the source Alicent.
Right.
But when she gets to this point, in the book, he doesn't say that Viserys said that, and that's why she moved forward, even though, because they also, her and Rhaenyra weren't established as friends. They were just established as, her father was at court, her father was a king. It only makes sense that they would know each other and bumps head. And then her father married, Alicent, and so it's that weird energy, but they were never friendly. They were friendly, but never friends and then something happens and then they just become enemies. But Alicent was always out to put in the source material. She's always out to put her son on the throne. And she doesn't have to be convinced of it because of the idea that Rhaenyra would want to get rid of all her male competitors. She's just, I'm queen. I want my son to be king, and I'm going to screw her in order to do that. And I know that I'm screwing her, but I want my son to be king.
Whatever.
That's Alicent in the source material. She is more human in that way because it's like, okay, yeah, I know this is wrong, and I know that that Viserys promised Rhaenyra that she would ascend the throne. But let's face facts. There's never been a woman, so why should there be one now? And I want my son to
We can say this offline, but the whole
Alice
and Rhaenyra situation sounds like some real world stuff that's going on right now.
Oh, yeah.
We it does bring in
the positioning of the elements in the trailer definitely evoke a lot of that. Yep. Yes, agreed.
And I think that's just a byproduct of any adaptation.
Totally.
So
I just saw Christopher Walken. Was that Christopher Walken in this trailer?
Yep. So we
yes, it was.
Now we're getting to the fun parts now. We're at
Doom. I'm like never about this movie, but you got Christopher Walken. You got my attention.
Yo, we got Doom Part 2, aka.
Allow me to invoke a camism and zoom all the way into the camera.
We have Doom Part 2, aka Timothée Chalamet going after black women.
Timothy getting some poon.
Shamalama ding dong.
And this place hides a great power that in my dreams manifests itself and warns me that a war is coming.
In Arrakis, you will not only learn how to ride the Fremen. The planet will show you what you do not see. It will show you your future. And that's just the beginning.
This world is beyond cruelty.
Do you believe in Pope?
Little son. He does not speak or act like a weakling, nor did his father.
You have to be ready.
What if Paul Atreides is still alive?
This is my duty. Kill them all. Show me who you are. Deal with this prophet. My visions are out of control. They demand that I do whatever it takes to win.
We gave them something to hope for.
That's not hope! Got it! I am Paul Muad'Dib Atreides, Duke of Arrakis!
I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer.
All right. First thing, I always trip off. In this world,
the Empire.
In this world, this dude's name is Paul. Out of all the names, that name is
That's your
Paul.
critique.
I mean, no.
Well, honestly, Frank Herbert did that on purpose, I think, because if you read the books, there are lots of things like that seem odd. But I think what it is, it's supposed to be a representation of the way human memory works and how how those things carry on, because they're almost 40,000 years removed from when a name like Paul or Duncan or even Idaho would make sense to anyone. But it's more so because, again, they have things that exist in that story, like the Bible, but it's not the same way. It's the Bible that we know, but it's totally different because of what space and time has done to it, which that's a whole big theme in Dune. Remember when she tells Paul that the whole thing, the Kwisatz Haderach is a mind that can meld time and space together. And the idea of that, and you learn this as you go further into his story, is so that humanity, a mind that can literally see all of the memory, all of the existence of
human memory,
human memory, and not make mistakes by interpreting it one way or other way. No, we see this is how this happened and this how this began. So the idea is that mind would be powerful enough to bridge those things. So I think that what he did was he threw things like, again, Duncan, Idaho, Paul, but his last name is Atreides, which is a name that doesn't exist currently or ever, you know, and you have some names that seem like they're made up, but there are other names and things that come from our time. Again, if you're reading, the movies can't really show this because it's so much detail.
Right, because it's more, the details are more literary than they are visual.
Exactly. So if you're reading and you're an astute reader, you're picking up on these things that seem like you, and they stand out. But Herbert, I'm almost certain, left those there specifically to reinforce his theme about space, time, and the human memory.
Is that who I think it is from House of Dragon in there, or was I tripping? One of the
Matt Ryan? Which part?
Okay.
No, that's Austin.
Okay.
That's the guy that played Elvis. He's talking about the actor that plays Fade Rotha. Yeah.
Fade is still one of the coldest names in all of science fiction history.
Yeah. You know what's curious is I'm wondering if they're gonna have Skarsgård play Baron Harkonnen the way he is in the books and in the other movies about Fade. You know, he had a really weird inner monologue about his nephew. Mm-hmm. Like it was very, very pedophilic and not pedophilic, but incestuous.
Incestuous, yeah.
And like he admires him that much to like it's very weird in the way that he thinks about Fade.
Yeah, I don't think they've ever touched on that in any of the iterations that I've seen in other media.
In Lynch's film, that dude was salivating at the mouth when
when he walked in the room. Yeah.
And he doesn't have a shirt on.
Yeah, he's hunched over and looking at the camera like, hey, yeah. You're right. Now, I forgot about that.
The sci-fi one toned it down a bit, like
considerably.
They toned it down a lot. Like I don't think he had that reaction, but there was hints.
The old one, the other one was stinging. That was a big thing, right? He was like shirt off, all oiled up.
Yes.
He comes out of the shower or whatever, and he's standing right in front of Baron Harkonnen, and Baron Harkonnen, they cut to him and he's like sweating and he's like licking his lips,
practically
and
drooling in the mouth. Yeah. My fault. Yeah, you're right.
But that was the energy in the book. Like literally, whenever the first time you meet Fade Rotha, and it's from the Baron's point of view, there's a lot of prose in which the Baron is described and his thoughts are sexually illicit about his nephew and his heir. Like it's very weird energy. But the trailer itself, I think this is the second one. And I really do think that they, from having read the books, this looks like it's going to be just as good, just as epic. I was surprised to not see Pugh as Irulan in the.
They put in there. She had like a line. Yeah, but not like as.
She had a line.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. She has probably. What if Paul Atreides is still alive?
I'd be willing to bet that you probably will get more Florence Pugh in the final trailer as Irulan, in all likelihood.
To be honest, Irulan doesn't play a role in the first story
until later. Yeah.
She's writing. It's a weird the way the book is. She's writing Paul's history after the fact, after this incident with the Emperor happens, and after what eventually happens. I won't say anything because I don't want to spoil for those who haven't read and are still looking forward to the movie.
For three television series out.
The good thing for me is that like I'm familiar but very unfamiliar with any of the mythology of it. So I don't really have any expectations. I'm just going in like, okay, cool. Like I know of Dune. I've seen the old footage with the Sting and all that, but I don't really have any expectations. I'm just gonna watch and see what comes of it.
I'm hyped. I'm the opposite. I'm way hyped.
I was like, damn, I gotta wait. Like, and I couldn't tell if it was gonna be like I'm not judging the first one because I want to see the complete work of this particular story, and like I'm just like I don't know what to think of it. It was interesting, but I want to see the second part before I make a 5.
If you want to see like a true adaptation of Frank Herbert's story, like not excluding a lot of his mythology detail, then you want to see the sci-fi one. That's 100%. The one that
he did. Like it was a series, right? Like 4 episodes, 5 episodes.
It was like a week-long miniseries. Yeah,
yeah, and they adapted Dune, Doom Messiah, and then Children of Doom. And I don't remember the release, but the one that was done for the first book, it's really well done. Mm-hmm. I think the DV's version, this new version, is better captures the epicness of Dune and the scale. And I think now, if you're watching carefully, you can see where Star Wars pulled a lot from Herbert and Dune. I'm not saying that the Bene Gesserit are Jedi, but I'm saying that the Bene Gesserit are Jedi. He pulled a lot from it.
I was working promos for Sci-Fi Channel at the time when the Sci-Fi Channel version came out, and I thought it was going to be garbage. This is because Sci-Fi Channel has had, that shaky history. But like, some of this stuff is dope. Some of this stuff is just like, why in the name of God?
I watched Merlin on Sci-Fi, so it can't get any worse.
I watched Robin Hood where they killed Robin Hood.
But that was but yeah, the Sci-Fi Channel version was during their stretch where they were like pulling down awards, one a season for everything not everything, but for at least one particular thing that they would do. So, I thought this was going to be like other Sci-Fi Channel stuff. And I was pleasantly surprised when because I had to watch it down. I had to digitize it and prep it for the promo editor. And so I had to watch it. And I was pleasantly shocked.
I got some homework. I'm going to watch
how good. Yeah. It's really good, bro. You gotta give it a little. You gotta give it a little bit of you gotta give it some grace on the CG and some of the set design, because some of the set design, though it's like early 2000s, it looks like late 90s a little bit.
And that's why I watch Merlin, you'll be fine.
Merlin, the dragon of Merlin.
So that should be a
backhanded Merlin slander.
As much as as harsh as I am on a lot of stuff, there are things I have the Stevie Wonder eyes for, and like I like the lore.
Which is amazing to me.
King Arthur stuff, I dig. Wizards, Dragon, I'm into. Right? So when I watch Merlin, I'm loving that Knights of the Round Tables type stuff. And I saw how bad it was. I was willing to put my blinders on just to get through it. And I was like, all right, watch Merlin, but it was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's my point though. If you got through that, then you shouldn't have.
This is top tier Sci-Fi Channel stuff. I got to tell you,
it is, and that is the closest anyone will get to visually adapting 95% of Frank Herbert's book, because they don't change a lot of things. Nope. They don't try to make it different they really do it exactly as Herbert. I think Herbert might have been still alive at the time.
I think his son was involved.
Yeah, because I think also somebody commented about that one as being before the DV films, the definitive Dune. Like that was you said it to me, but I'm saying that I had read that about it before. Like it had already been published in something that was, and I thought it was Herbert or his son that said that like this was like more better than David Lynch's film, because David Lynch
took a lot of liberties as well.
But it was very
it wasn't that he took a lot of liberties per se. It was that the studio made him. They made him take liberties, and they made him cut it down. So what he did was he wound up backfilling some of the climax with what happens with his sister's eyes turning blue and all that other stuff. that stuff, if I'm remembering correctly, is the beginning of the next book. No,
Yep,
that was the end of the first.
Alia is born in the first book, because remember the first book is actually broken down into as part 1, part 2, that Alia is already born in part 2. He skips a little bit.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like the end of the film, the end of that film is the beginning of is somewhere along the lines of the next the first chunk of the next book. No. Okay, I'm tripping then.
The end of that film is how the book ends.
Okay, my fault.
Yeah, she all of the things because remember, everybody's afraid of Alia.
Yeah,
remember, and that happens in the first book because she's in the Sietches with the
Fremen,
Jessica and with Paul and with the Fremen,
right?
And they're freaked out, but. And again, I won't say why because no. People need will eventually see if they do it because I don't even know if Alia was cast for this film.
Actually, it's a good question.
I don't know.
And that could be like you thinking that it was in the beginning of the next book. He could think like maybe we don't need to include her at all because.
Because we're not going past it. Yeah.
Right. And it is kind of one of those things that was set up to be paid off in later books.
With my fun facts, the co-writer of Dune 1 and 2 wrote Doctor Strange and Prometheus.
So hang on. I got a question about that.
Yeah, please.
He wrote... Wait,
both he's credited as the co-writer with
part 1 and 2 of the current Dune.
The current Dune. Okay.
He also did
interesting.
Yeah, that's a word.
Well, to me, Prometheus was a well-written script. It just I don't think it was what people were expecting.
It didn't sail the way that people thought it would for an alien film.
Exactly. I think people thought too much or expected too much of an alien film. And because I think when you look at the way that story is told, it's really, really well done and from a science fiction perspective.
Right.
But what was the other one he did? Doctor Strange?
Doctor Strange.
First Doctor Strange, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Michael, great. The first Doctor Strange was okay. It was the second one that shit a bit.
All right, so moving on, I think our last one we'll do before we wrap up will be Avatar: The Last Airbender has now gotten a trailer. It's a live action. It's gonna be quite interesting. A lot of interesting stuff on it. The original people that made the original cartoon actually left the show, and then it continued. So it looks. I'm very curious to see how they pull this off because it was a pretty big deal because the original creators were working on it, and then when they left, it was also a big deal. So let's check it out. It's going to be a TV series, I believe. Yes.
Series.
Okay.
Time is a funny thing. The past. The future. It all gets mixed up. There's only one way to keep it straight. Always remember who you are.
Nice. Good for Netflix. I mean, that looks decent. And it definitely looks like a step 1,000 paces away from that Shyamalan.
I never watched it. I couldn't do it.
I mean, I'll say this. What we're seeing falls in line with what Netflix basically said they were going to do. The quality over quantity. They're going to do fewer films, but the films that they do are going to be, the shows and the shows and movies they do, they're going to try to make them as close to home runs as possible.
Well, that seems like everybody's jumping on that train,
which is funny to me. Which is funny to me because when I did my first streaming show, what my supervisor told me was everybody is sweating for content. Like no matter how much they have, everybody's trying to catch Netflix, and Netflix is trying to stay ahead. So even they were thirsty for as much as they had. They were thirsty for content. And this was just like 2020. Here we are, end of 2023, and the tables have turned, and now everybody's scaling back, which I think is hilarious.
It's definitely ironic, if nothing else. And they had, I remember a few years ago when they had slated for almost 100 and something films in one movie.
And mad ambitious.
And I remember
it was like what, 18 billion or something like that in funding that they had set aside for all of that, some craziness like that.
Yeah, and obviously they're not spending. It's the American International Pictures of the 70s method, where you buy low with you spend little but make
buy low sell high.
Yeah, buy low sell high. Thank you, that's sort of where Netflix was with their strategy, and I think to your point, that was the case just 2-3 years ago for all media content distributors, is that they were looking to gobble up as much content because remember when Disney Plus launched, the whole thing was they're launching, but they don't have anything to keep people from saying, hey, this is nice, this is cool, I can see a lot of Disney movies. Somebody I got on DVD just dusted off. So why am I going to pay you $10 a month or $100 or whatever it is for the year if you don't have the content to back it up?
Right.
And so that was when there was that gold rush for content, and everybody, Disney, Amazon, Netflix, Warner, everybody, HBO, everybody was gobbling up so much content, and then they put it all out, and half of it stunk.
Right, the spaghetti against the wall method of streaming.
Because Netflix did. Part of the reason why they did a little bit better than everybody else is because they went heavy on the international situation. So the Korean partnership, South Africa, Thai, Filipinos, Indian, and a lot of them hit. And so I think to me that out of all the streaming services, Netflix still wins a little bit because of their international stuff, because they have those international hits, the Squid Games and the whole nine. And so I think till now, all the other streaming are still trying to find their hit, because Peacock, besides their, is it Peacock? Yeah, because Peacock, they have their one or two hit here and there. Paramount got their Star Trek and stuff like that, but Disney's floundering right now in terms of actual quality stuff. And I mean, what else? MGM Plus, Stars.
And,
oh dear God,
Peacock is only saved by USA and Sci-Fi and the other, because a show like, for example, I watched Chucky, and that's on Peacock the day after it airs on USA, and that wasn't the case last season. But now they know that you have to give people a reason to keep these to want to continue to pay for these multiple streaming services, because that was the deal, right? A la carte. That's why I think this strategy of doing these week-to-week releases doesn't make a lot of sense in the grand scheme of things when you think about where we began, which is people bought into the streaming service because of the idea of a la carte. The show I want to see, it's new, it's all there for me to see it. as I want, when I want. I don't need to schedule any time to watch it and you still don't. And I think that's the way that streaming services can say, but you can still watch it whenever you want. You don't have to watch at that time, of the release. But
their metrics don't reflect that, which is interesting. You know what I mean? Like they're still reliant on, the water cooler, like, okay, I'm going to air it on Friday so that people are talking about it on Monday. So that it generates buzz so that they go back and watch it on Friday. And the people who didn't watch it last Friday feel like they missed out and they got it. You know what I mean? Like it creates its own little, like, the Game of Thrones effect. I'll be damned if I was waiting until Monday to watch. I think I'm in all of the seasons of Game of Thrones, even the bad ones. I missed one. Yeah. One episode on a Sunday.
To House of the Dragon for a lot of people, but at the same time, because Game of Thrones ended the way it did, it didn't carry over for some people. So, it's still the argument of quality and quantity is just of a different degree. And, I would rather, I think Netflix is still winning also because their brand is becoming they're still the place where binging is sort of the culture preferred method. And they still release their things with the idea that their audience is going to watch this when they want and how they want.
And also they've also taken on the role of being the kind of the popcorn action movie place. Like they're about to drop the other one. Was Obliterated or something like that. And that one was like, a special forces team saved the day and everything else. And then they got super drunk. And then all of a sudden they find out they didn't save the day. So now they're all hungover trying to save the day. And I was like, that premise, I'm like,
which I gotta say that I'm down with that. I'll watch that. Sure. Why not?
And that was what made Hollywood so much money 90s? During the 70s and 80s and 90s, whereas you had the main studios that made the prestige and the high quality films and the blockbusters that had the best budgets. But you also had these studios, these little engines that would just be like, look, I got a budget. I'm going to throw some money at it. It's going to be a popcorn, stupid fun affair. And we know that, like I said about Zack Snyder is the problem with him. And it's also the problem
you summed it up with one.
Wow. With the show with The Walking Dead, which is if you treat that like what it is, it's fine. Like, you know what I mean? But if you're trying to make this seem like it's this prestigious drama that needs to be taken serious and we're structuring it, we showed you this at the beginning and then we're gonna cut it to this. And oh my God. Did you see what we did there? How smart we were?
Yeah.
That's the problem with a lot of stuff.
Doubling back to Avatar, it's funny. So my daughter and I watched the trailer, and so as I mentioned before, she had to be 10 years old when the M. Night Shyamalan film came out, and we watched that trailer, and she was like, no, and she was down to go to movies to see whatever, but she loved her Avatar: The Last Airbender. She saw the trailer. She was like, absolutely not. I was like, you sure? Like, it's your thing. She was like, that's not my thing. That TV show is my thing. That movie is not my TV show. And that I do not want to see at 10. And I was like, well, I'm going to go see it. And she was like, let me know how it is. and sure enough, I went and I had to, she forgot about it. I had to go to her, being the honest father that I am. I went to her. I was like, so I went to go see Last Airbender this weekend. And she was like, and she was giving me the tell me more. And, I told her it was terrible. And she rubbed my back and was like, I tried to warn you, father. Father is what I get when she's being condescending. I tried to warn you, father, and you didn't listen. And, you got burned anyway. And I'm very sorry. Yeah.
I mean, when I saw the trailer,
but maybe this will teach you.
When I saw the father,
so fast forward to this trailer dropping, and apparently my 24-year-old daughter remembers this incident, and So this jerk turns to me as I'm watching. She's standing behind me as I'm watching the trailer. I didn't realize that she was there. She stands behind me watching the trailer. She puts her hand on my back and rubs it again. And she goes, "This one I think you can go see." And I'm like, first of all, you're touching me. Second of all, you're being incredibly condescending, and I will still lay you out. I'm your father.
It looks good. I think, especially as an Avatar fan, the M Night one,
it looks good. Yeah, the M Night one. Like I think we're gonna get what we got from Star Trek Discovery. Brad Miller worked on the initial concept for it and laid out the premise for the first bunch of episodes, and then it sort of fell apart. And I think we're going to get, I don't know if it's going to fall apart. I'm not wishing doom and gloom on it. I hope it does well. But I think we're going to get something similar where the guys from the who did the original television series worked on the original premise. Same thing with Deadpool. Edgar Wright worked on the original spine of the thing, as it were. And we got a pretty good movie. We had a good pair of movies out of Edgar Wright's thing. So I think similarly, I think we're gonna get a good at least first season out of this, following the roadmap that the original creators laid out, because it's already there and they already sort of gave their outline and their first sort of look at what that world's gonna be like live action. What is gonna be like long term? Yeah. We have Discovery. Discovery as a roadmap we'll see, man. For that I think it looks great. I think the big thing about M. Night was he took out the humor of the show, and that was a big no-no. And I think that this one is, by keeping the kids a little bit younger and trying to keep it in that realm and kind of reminding people that this is a kid show, and keeping that spirit, I think it might have a chance of actually being pretty decent. So we'll see how it goes. All right. So we just went through a slew of trailers. For your final word, I already know most of your guys' answers, but what are you actually excited to watch in the next month or two that we just watched earlier?
These trailers?
Yeah, these ones.
Dune.
I kind of agree.
I definitely would say Dune. If you gave me the order, it would be Dune, then Furiosa, then House of Dragon.
Yeah.
Yep. 1, 2, 3. Yep. Agreed.
Actually, because I missed Fury Road in the theaters, I want to make sure I make the point to IMAX the hell out of this. And
who the hell you will not regret it. I did the IMAX for Fury Road, and
so did I.
Amazing. It was amazing.
I'm spazzing out now because I could swear I went to see Fury Road with you, Cam.
I remember it because I didn't watch it until I was in San Francisco. I was watching it on a projector. I watched it on a projector at my friend's Slim's house.
Okay.
And that shit was freaking amazing. I was like, I should have watched this in the theaters.
As good as I thought it was going to be, I could not have.
Yeah, I was like, I should have went to the Good Sounds Theater and enjoyed my life, because that place, it was wild.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man.
But yeah, 1, 2, 3.
Same.
That's my pick as well.
We also omitted a bunch of really crappy trailers, namely Madam Web and some other randomness.
Upon request, we omitted that.
But also I just saw the trailer for that Kevin Hart Ocean's 11 movie.
Oh, I didn't even know that was a thing.
I definitely didn't know.
As a one-man review of just the trailer, it looks like someone had a movie and then whoever was supposed to be in it dropped out, and they're like, "Who's available?" Oh, hey, Kevin, you want to play an international thief and has a crew that has to go steal some stuff?
You mean a movie that's been done like every decade, in every iteration of Hollywood? Like, how many of those?
Is it a comedy though?
Serious?
I mean, is it like a Kevin Hart type?
Yeah, I'm telling you, it does not look like your typical Kevin Hart, jokey joke. This is he's serious, and I'm saying, yo, we're about to steal some things, and and I got a crew together, and I'm like, okay, first of all, we see this movie 17 different times, man. And then now I'm like, wait, Kevin's doing serious stuff now? What's going on? Yeah.
this is off topic, but two things unrelated. One, I think there's also another Mad Max film that's going to be coming called Mad Max: The Wasteland, which is supposed to be a direct sequel to Furiosa.
Yeah.
Actually, Slash Film just did a I don't know. Let me see, what's the date on this? They did an article this year about it, trying to see, asking when is it coming. But the Furiosa is first, and then we're going, and then I guess they're going to do that one. But the other thing is, when you mentioned Kevin Hart, for some reason, this popped in my head. Do you guys know that they're apparently doing a new Beverly Hills?
Yes, I did know that.
I did know that.
Yep.
Yes.
Axel Foley is coming back.
This is correct.
That is correct.
Pay rent, yo. Pay rent.
Eddie Murphy was like, you know what?
Yes. This is my award for.
They pay child support more like it, but whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he don't take care of his kids, but it's not like he poor.
I'm not saying you did. I'm just saying that's
he has another. He has a Christmas movie out now too called was it Candy Cane Lane or something like that? Amazon.
The Candy Cane Lane. That's
what?
Reggie Hudlin's film.
Oh, okay. If it's a Reggie Hudlin project, then
it's an Amazon
credibility.
Yeah, it's an Amazon. So that one, I would say I might consider watching it just as like, oh, it's a holiday movie or whatever. I'll watch that. But and because it's Reggie Hudlin, and he's got, like you said, he's got some credibility.
Yeah.
And but that's an
instant watch. I'll watch it. I'll watch it blind. I don't know anything about it, but Hudlin's doing it. I'll watch it.
But it was because of that film. I saw something around that film, and then I saw like that they were doing a new Beverly Hills Cop, and it's gonna. Axel Foley is coming back.
How old is Eddie now? Eddie's like what, 60s?
Nah, almost, but not
somewhere there about
late 50s.
Probably late 50s, I would think.
Yeah, something like that. Interesting, but yeah. So that's, I mean, like I said. Oh, really?
He's 62.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Wow, man. Our heroes are getting up there, guys.
He's a cop. He should be retiring.
You better be the captain.
I know, right?
I know.
That angry chief. That dude, the angry chief, that one archetype that was in every movie that had a cop character, whether he was black or white, always had that angry black chief with a thick mustache.
If you come back and they remake the Golden Child, I'm like, bruh, come on.
Oh,
hey man, Charles Dance still working. They may as well, and he's real popular right now. After having played Tywin Lannister, they might could get him back.
They still trying to send Axel Foley back to New York, or wherever was
Detroit.
he from?
Detroit.
Thank you.
Yeah, he was from Detroit.
What are you still doing here? You're 62 years old.
I forgot why he even went. See, that was when Hollywood did
not
about to say the same thing. Like, how did he end up a regular cop from Detroit ends up in Beverly Hills?
Oh, wait, wasn't it a friend of his was murdered and the trail led to Beverly Hills?
Yeah, that's what it was. Okay,
yeah. It was his partner or a friend of his or whatever. Yeah. He was on leave or got suspended running down the leads in Detroit and took his own time, went to Detroit. It went to Beverly Hills under his own steam, flashing his badge everywhere until somebody calls him out and realizes, A, you're not a Beverly Hills officer. You're not a California officer of any kind.
You in the wrong region altogether.
Yeah. And then B, not only are you not a cop in California, you're suspended, so you're not even a cop at all.
But that was what was funny is how they had him waving that badge as if that meant anything in outside of the city limits of Detroit. Like, it don't even mean nothing in the next town in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Like, and that's the same state. The Hollywood did not care about it. It's like you think about all the movies that were successful that made no sense. Like Back to the Future. Big time blockbuster franchise. And so many things years later is like, yeah, that movie was from a scientific perspective, that movie was bull and shit. like the whole thing.
I see.
I'm okay with it. Yeah, we're okay with Back to the Future for all its inaccuracies. I mean, I'm okay with it.
Confession, I was not the biggest Back to the Future fan. I thought it was okay.
I can see that. I mean, I like the first one. I don't like the second and third, but the first one was okay. But I always thought it was ridiculous. I mean, again, this dude you got a DeLorean and you telling me that this thing is about to go faster than the speed of light and y'all not going to turn into metal soup on the trip?
I don't know how old I was at the time, but I let it go. I was like, I'm ready to.
With the gull wings open, no less. So what little protection the car? What little protection the car would provide?
Yeah, that's hilarious.
I mean, like, you probably get electrocuted just from the startup.
Compost. Just so, again, yeah,
it ran on compost.
Not to mention.
That fact. So he literally powered it with processed poop,
compost, and trash and other randomness.
Yeah.
Wow, that's funny.
Not to mention the flaming trail that the wheels that should have melted left.
Everything. Again, that's Hollywood. You can make a movie about the
inaccuracies of science fiction in the 80s.
Ask me now about it. This is me. La 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 la.
You put the Stevie Wonder.
There are certain movies that, as a kid, I know it was bad, but I'm allowing it. I'm just gonna allow. It's like real. It's not.
All right, wait. Go around the room real quick. What would you say is your favorite film that you made the greatest allowance for, and then we should probably be out?
Landry's Punisher.
Oh.
Yeah, that's
a good one.
Oh God, I hated that. Jesus,
that is a good one. I would say
that is a good one.
I would say for me, it's the Joel Schumacher Batman and Robin. That one was bad.
I am shocked.
But
I am insulted, sir.
I am horrified.
Hold on, we gotta hear this. I'm allowed. I was 10 years old when that movie came out. Okay, or no, 11. But I didn't say I liked it. I just said
you made allowances for it.
I'll make allowance for it because at the time I enjoyed the puns. Like every line was a pun. Batman. I knew it was stupid. I knew it was bad, but it evoked. He did say that. I think
he did say that. I will. Yes.
And Clooney was like, "What?" the Clooney Batman looked up and was like, "What?" So there were parts of that movie that I appreciated just because of how ridiculous it was, and it did. Joel Schumacher knew, just like Taika with Love and Thunder. He knew that he had to make that film. It was a studio obligation. It wasn't going anywhere. You could tell it was not going anywhere. They were at the end of that Batman franchise. And so you had Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze.
Oh, dear God.
Left and right.
Everybody chill.
Look, come on. One of the lines was, "What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age."
Oh, dear God.
Shooting the dinosaur. It was camp at its worst.
I cannot believe my ears.
You know everyone else is. That's done. We're done. That's the.
Hold on. Here are
I want to hear you guys.
Yeah.
All right. Mine, I would say, would probably be the Incredible Hulk TV series. Even though it was a massive divergence from the comics, I was riveted. It was just the level of improbability of the things that would happen in that show in terms of just the stuff that Lou Ferrigno was doing as the Hulk. The launching people B.A. Baracus style across state lines practically was just, there are mad people who should have died based on what the Hulk was doing.
Yeah, crazy. Mine would be Hudson Hawk with Bruce Willis. That movie is horrible, but it is so fun and so silly. God, it is horrible. It's horrible writing. The acting is horrible. What is there's a scene, there's a literal scene where they jump off of a building and he lands in a recliner in someone else's apartment. And they don't even say anything about it. They're just like, oh man,
So he was practicing. Wait a minute.
This was after. This is the beginning of Bruce Willis going to the pay rent movies. Like this is like
okay.
Yeah. He had a stretch before in between what's it called? Nakatomi movie.
Die Hard.
Die Hard. Between Die Hard and like a bunch of other films that he would like the Die Hard series. Yeah, in between the big movies that he was doing, he had like the Hudson Hawks of his catalog. And man,
because he was in this movie where he played an assassin.
I was going to say Remo Williams, but I wanted to go even more deep cut. Remo Williams would have been my second choice, but that's also pretty bad.
Now
that was like another like action. Your typical.
Wasn't Kate Mulgrew in that?
And it started. What's the guy's name?
Oh God. He was like a star for like 10 seconds.
And he was also in Tremors, and then with Kevin Bacon, and then he did all the sequels because he had no money.
No,
Fred Ward. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, Fred Ward. Remo Williams, that would be my other one. But Hudson Hawk is truly terrible. It is really bad. And they whoever this $65 million budget, yo. Danny Aiello is in it, Andy McDowell, Sandra Bernhardt, James Colbert.
Wow.
Like, how did this even happen?
I feel like RoboCop was one of those also, but like RoboCop just was so ridiculous that it pushed all the way through to being good.
Solid, man.
As a
RoboCop is solid, but it's ridiculous.
Top death scene of all time.
Yeah, he's shooting all them black people.
If I go back and watch that,
it's the what?
Mechanical cop shooting all them black criminals. Y'all better revise that. It didn't age well. Even if it really wasn't born
well
either.
Going back and watch Charles Bronson. You're like, hold on, man.
That's what exactly.
There's something wrong with this.
You go back and you look, you're like, all these criminals look almost the same. Especially Dirty Harry, he taunted that dude before he killed him. Like, see, they ain't just shooting black people. Young black so-called criminals, they taunting them.
Yeah, dude.
Think you're lucky, punk?
Oh, man.
You're wondering, did I fire one?
Hudson Hawk is so bad.
Lucky punk?
So bad.
What was it? There was another.
And Eastwood was like, so you're saying I can't say that word? Come
on. So bad. So bad.
What was it? I think it was The Crow that had the oh, right. Yeah. The Crow was a good movie, but the villains were just.
The first with Brandon Lee.
Yeah, that was a good movie. But the villains, the gang was absolutely the most ridiculous thing ever.
Hey, I will say this.
It's the most ridiculous chat for a gang ever.
The second movie that comes to mind that I will allow is Cyborg with Van Damme.
Oh. That's a deep cut. Yeah.
Which one?
It was post-apocalyptic Van Damme.
True.
It's better than it should be. Ryan that produced it.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those terrible aged movies. But anytime I get a chance to watch it, I'll watch it enthusiastically because I liked it when it came out.
Oh, there is a lot. I feel like we'll have more of those than
American Ninja. Ooh,
that's what I'm saying.
Like, American Ninja, absolutely.
80s, 90s American TV film. There was like you had some good stuff, but a good majority of it was really bad.
I forced my mom to take me to see American Ninja.
I know she wants to like, boy.
That's to tell you how.
I would like to submit that the writer of Hudson Hawk also co-wrote Die Hard 2, Beverly Hills Cop 3, Street Fighter, and Judge Dredd with Stallone.
That certainly makes a ton of sense all of a sudden. All of those movies.
Because every one you just named just got worse and worse.
Also, my other personal fave, Jumping Jack Flash with Whoopi Goldberg.
Wow, guy.
All right, you know what? Before we go on another tangent for another hour, we'll come back to this and we'll do some 80s and 90s flashbacks. And
clearly there's a topic here. Yeah.
Darkman, shout out Darkman. Yeah, see?
Automan.
Liam Neeson.
Right? We'll end it off there. We'll come back.
We'll end it off there, but we'll come back and we'll do a 90s one.
Real quick. I watched the pilot for Airwolf the other day.
The original one?
Oh my God. The original. Oh man. Woo!
It's a lot of coke that got that show greenlit.
Hardcastle in the corner.
Riptide. Wow. Riptide.
Let's do it. Rockford
I
Files.
just aged myself right now. So.
Hunter. Yeah, let's go.
I don't even know.
I like Hunter.
I think I do.
Spencer for Hire.
Yeah.
Hunter was dope for a while.
And then Hawk when he got his own show. Let's go.
Spencer.
Spencer.
All right, Cam, end it. We're not going to stop.
All right, thanks for rocking with us. As always, Blerdlines, and we're out. Peace.
Later.